All right, let's hope third-time lucky experts at the Africa Oil and Power Conference in Cape Town are calling for greater investment in Africa's energy sector. Mariska Botha has been covering that. Mariska, let's try again. You're in Cape Town with us. Tell us, what's the aim of the conference?
Well, the conference is aimed at bringing all those role players together to further enhance investment on the continent, because as you said there in the intro, Francis, that part of it is lacking. There is enough in terms of the resource that's on the continent, but when it comes to investment in terms of infrastructure and everything that goes with it downstream in the production and the distribution of, for example, oil and gas, there's still a great lack of investment from the world over. So this is really to bring role players together and encourage and stimulate investment in African countries.
So as we said in the intro earlier, there's a number of high-placed government officials here and at this gathering. What are some of the concerns about Africa's energy sector in particular?
Well, they expressed themselves very clearly. Some people came out saying immediately that they understand that climate change is a great issue, and they are all supporters of working together for a cleaner and healthier environment. But one of the ministers who was also speaking there from Equatorial Guinea said that Africa's development cannot be hampered, or it's unfair to expect Africa not to use its resources like oil and gas to promote development, because there is this issue. They understand that it needs to be looked at. They understand that it needs to be tackled. But still, there's this resource, there's still a demand for it. And while there's still a demand for it, Africa should be allowed to explore and develop its energy fields. He said that what should be looked at is consumers, not necessarily developers or those that provide these services, but rather consumers should change their behaviors, which will affect demand. But they said that Africa should be allowed to develop its resources fully in order to develop the continent to its full potential.
And there's a big concern about lack of investment. What does that mean, and how can that be tackled?
Well, that translates to the underdevelopment of these energy sources that are in abundance on the continent, as far as we understand. Guillaume Doan, who's the CEO of Africa Oil and Power, says that, I'm just going to read here from my notes, that he says across all energy resources, over $1.85 trillion was spent globally, and Africa only got around 2.5% of that share. He says that shows you how greatly underinvested in Africa as a resource for oil and gas is. And he says there's great scope for improvement there. And the development that can lead to, as a result from this, is absolutely enormous. And he says the African countries should work together and find common ground to stimulate investment, and to maybe work on some of the policies and some of the red tape that hampers investment. And they should focus strongly on luring, especially those investors that doesn't necessarily want to invest in the traditional markets anymore, to come to Africa and to put their money where it can be beneficial to the continent as a whole.
All right, Mariska Botha, thank you very much, and let's hope all the potential discoveries in sub-Saharan Africa start gushing oil soon. Griselda.